right, welcome back to the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz. You already know where to hit that subscribe button, man. Shout out to my cousin Matthew Bishop, but I guess like his homies call him Matty B.
Good,
He put me on with
B?
my next guest, Ben10K. What's good, bro?
Chilling, man. How about you?
All the way from the Bay, man. You know.
Yeah, I'm based out here now and shit though, so like I live in Long Beach because I go to Cal State Long Beach. So
Okay.
yeah, a little bit of a commute, but not quite 6 hours.
Yeah, that's what's up, bro. So are you going to Cal State Long Beach for school or what?
Yeah. I study.
Well, I mean, obviously school.
Yeah.
I meant like what major?
Yeah. I study sociology over there. So basically, just like the study of like people and how they interact with society, different demographics, and like,
That's interesting.
yeah, it's like really kind of depressing, man. Like shit's really fucked up, institutional racism, feminism, all of those types of theories and shit. So it makes you really see the world differently, and has kind of like helped me to think about music as like more of like a platform to like creatively have a message that's like beyond like your typical like materialism and stuff like that,
I see you, bro, because I think a lot of people tend to just get caught up with the materialisticness, the materialistic needs that they think that they need, but they don't actually need, and they'll put that out on the music. But I think when you find music and you use it for a greater purpose, whether it be you talk about racism, you talking about like what it was like for you growing up in the Bay, for example, and people can actually relate to that. That's when music actually becomes effective and a lot more attractive to people to be like, well, I want to listen to you more.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like that's just so important with everything, especially like being a white dude that makes music.
Speak up to the mic, bro. People want to hear your voice.
Okay. Yo, what's good? It's your boy Ben10K checking in.
Yeah.
So like being like a white rapper or white artist, like it's like a different type of perspective. Like you have to leverage like your privilege as a white person because like it's weird talking about racism as a white person because it doesn't happen to me. You know what I'm saying? So like really the important thing is to like think about that and then how to like leverage it without sounding like preachy and shit.
Yeah, I'll agree because I think on one of Logic's albums he sounded like way too preachy for everybody to be like, yeah, I get what you mean. But I think there's like kind of a balance you need to take in which you have to be preachy enough. Because if you don't push that envelope, people aren't going to listen to you.
Yeah, and there's ways to, like, subtly do it. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to, like, be just through the music. You know what I mean? Like, you can stand for something and make music that's completely different. Like, I think a great example of that is, like, Lil B. You know what I mean? Like,
Go in, bro.
Lil B, literally, on Twitter, is, like, the most positive and, like, loving person ever. But his music is, like... fuck Ellen DeGeneres, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, just some ratchet
bad
shit.
Bitches on my dick because I'm Elvis. Like, just like ignorant ass shit. So, like, that's an example of how you can have, like, duplicity and shit, where you could be, like, one person in your music and then another person in, like, your public life and shit,
Yeah, I get that, man. So, a lot of the music that you create is very fun.
Right.
Now, I also want to plug you on this, too. You actually got... featured on the FIFA soundtrack.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You produced that record for 24kgoldn. It's called
Workin.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like a lot of the music that you have is a lot more fun, but I want to get to know you a lot more, man.
Right.
So Ben10K, what part of the Bay are you from exactly?
I'm from Alameda. So
shout out to Alameda, man.
Right.
Yo,
it's crazy because like you think of it as like being a small town, but then you come to realize there's 80,000 people that live there, and that's like more people or a larger population than a lot of state capitals. Like
80,000
people,
man.
Right? Like that's like in some states, like it's like bigger than the biggest city in North Dakota and like Maine, and like the capital of Maine has less people than Alameda.
Do you always feel like, because I think generally when people look at the Bay Area who are not from the Bay, they will either see San Francisco, Oakland, or San Jose. Do you feel like Alameda's always just been like overlooked?
Yes, most definitely. I think that like even people from Oakland honestly write off Alameda. They're just like, oh yeah, like rich white people, you know what I mean? But there is the West End. Like there's a lot of kids that I know that grew up like on Section 8 and shit. You know what I mean? So it's definitely like socioeconomically pretty diverse, and like I didn't grow up around just white people. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people kind of just assume that Alameda is like this like very nice, which it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like the part of Alameda that I grew up in is definitely like a nice place to grow up and stuff. And you know, you of course you got the city views, and it's like right in between SF and Oakland. Like it could not be situated more perfectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I think it does get written off and overlooked, and especially out here in LA, like I always got to be like, oh, they're like, oh, where you from? I'm gonna be like the Bay, and they're like, oh, what part of the Bay? I'm gonna be like, probably gonna have to say Oakland. You know what I mean?
Probably gonna have to say Oakland.
But people back in the Bay do not take that. Like they'll be like, Alameda and Oakland are two different things.
Yeah,
you know
man.
what I mean?
It's like you kind of really have to rep where you're from, because I remember talking to a bunch of my boys who are from Newark. And so as soon as I met them, I was just like, shout out to Cook. I was just like, yo, is Newark even in the Bay? But you know, I was just like fucking with them. But like to me, I'm just like, you know, I think it comes from a different it's a different mentality when you come from, I guess, a not as known city.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it makes you want to like rep it that much harder.
Right. But the one thing about Alameda though is you cannot say that it's not the Bay. It's literally the most Bay Area thing because it is an island in the Bay. So like with Newark or like anything like north of Vallejo and shit like that, or like Marin, you can kind of be like, oh, is that actually the Bay?
Yeah.
But like with Alameda, there is no debate. Like it is the Bay.
It's like water is touching all parts of the city,
and
man.
I can see San Francisco when I walk 5 minutes from my house. So like it's the Bay. You know what I'm saying? But like the debate really comes down to like this like kind of, I guess you could say like in the Bay, like people really like in Oakland. I've seen tweets recently where it's like, we damn near got to know your address to like see that you certified. You know what I mean? Like. Be like, what part of Oakland you from? Oh, I'm from the east. What block? Like, oh, 85th. What's your address? Like, where you go to middle school?
God
like,
damn, that's a little bit too much, bro.
Seriously,
Sheesh.
bro, it's a thing, man. I mean, like, bro. So, like, at first I'll be like, oh, yeah, Oakland. And then they'll be like, oh, I'm from Oakland. Like, what street are you from? And I'm like, Alameda. And
then like, get the fuck up out of here,
like,
bro.
Oh, yeah, you know,
with your Alameda looking at.
right, yeah. So
then, growing up, were you always into the music?
Oh, bro, literally when I was like 7 years old, I want to say. So I grew up like at first, my dad would always play like hella like James Brown and like funk and shit like that. So
okay,
rhythm, and like, you know, I remember hearing like Digital Underground for the first time, like Sex Packets, like the Humpty Dance, and I was like, bro, what the fuck is this? I remember being at Rasputin's in San Lorenzo, and I seen on the fucking shelf like this like green and purple like wild ass cover. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. And I go over and look. It's the Rompilation compilation from Mac Dre.
Yo.
And I was like, yo, like I don't know what this is, but I gotta have it.
That's
and
rare.
Like my mom, I can't remember if it was my mom or my dad. They're like, okay, all right, like them shits was so hood they didn't even have the parental advisory on them, so you could just straight up like just buy that shit, and then like I go home and it's like stupid doo-doo dumb like 4 fingers in her pussy when I start to hum. Like I'm 7 years old singing that shit. So
damn,
that's
bro.
really like where it all kind of began for me. Like, you know, from there I was like, bro, I gotta, you know, Richie Rich, like 40. You know, I kind of went backwards, you know what I'm saying? So, like, from there, you know, Too Short and, like, just learning about the whole Bay Area hip-hop culture.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's good that you were able to go backwards at such a young age, because I feel like nowadays people tend to not look back at their roots and, like, you know, where they're from. Like, you know, one of my favorite 40 albums of all time is In a Major Way.
Of course, bro.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like,
that's just
like
amazing,
nothing
bro.
else sounds like In a Major Way.
I love that album. That shit is, like, just timeless for the Bay. Like nobody flowed like him. Nobody ever will be able to flow like him, because Earl is just naturally a fucking like playalistic motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like he really just has game spilling out of his veins. You know, like, and that's such a Bay Area thing. And to have that and make the type of music that I make now, I feel like it's just giving me like an idea of like, all right, this is how to turn the party up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and there's so many ways in which you can, I guess, put forth your music with all your influences. Like obviously you have like 40 who's had things from like Things Will Never Change to like Tell Me When to Go, for example, right? You know what I mean? Like there's two different dynamics, and it's just like, you know, like the interesting conversation I have with Bay Area artists is that you don't have to sound hyphy. You don't have, you know what I mean? You don't have to do any of that.
Bay, you know, it's like a lot of people really easily get boxed in, and that's why there's such a bubble over it. And like, I don't know, I don't want to get too much into Golden and shit, but really with him right now, like that's kind of been like one of my main focuses is just like helping him grow because of everything that's going on with him right now, and like he doesn't have a single song that sounds anything like Bay Area music.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's why I think if you listen to Golden, it's kind of like, is he from Atlanta? You know what I mean? You kind of look at his shit, it's just like you don't really know where he's from.
But he's from the city and shit, so it's like, it's definitely like a different sound, and I think that's really why he's been able to cross over so quickly into the mainstream is because, and a lot of people from the Bay are going to obviously hate and shit, like, you know, like, I think he's being considered for like Dizzler freshman, and like as much as I would love for him to win that, like I know that he won't, even though he probably has like the most Spotify streams or whatever out of all those artists. Like
it's like upward of 1 million right now. I just checked.
Fucking, it's crazy. His monthly listeners are like 5 million right now, and like Valentino's almost at like 60 million, and like you can't. There's artists from the Bay right now like that, fucking huge. You know what I mean? In the Bay, but like they're not even doing close to that, you know what I mean? Like it's very rare. Like I'm sure like the only people that are really doing that are like SOB and shit like that. So it's like it's an interesting thing in the Bay where you could be successful everywhere else. Like for example, like with G-Eazy and shit, like I'm sure he was getting hated on in the Bay, you know what I mean? Sure. Like cuz he was a little different, you know what I'm saying? And look at him now, he's a fucking superstar.
But that's why you see the biggest stars to come out the Bay. G-Eazy, Kehlani, her, you know, hers from Vallejo.
Right.
And, you know, I'll throw 24kgoldn on there, too. It's just like, if you look at all these artists, they're all from the Bay, but they don't sound like what I guess we would expect. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, shout out to Wait Oh Wait, though. He be making, like, some Bay Area hyphy shit, but it's, like, for the most part, I think for the people who I had previously mentioned, like, they decided, like, hey, we just got to make a sound that's literally just ours.
Right.
Like, our own sound. Like, I'm going to sound like her. G-Eazy gonna sound like G-Eazy, so on and so forth.
Right, and I think with G, what is so cool and why I definitely like look up to him a lot is the fact that once he got that platform, you know, he fucked around and put All Black on national television. You know what I'm saying? Like that's huge. You know what I'm saying? Like for like dude from 22nd to be on fucking Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, like that's like now he's taking it back to the roots. You feel me? And like doing collabs with the A's and fucking really putting on for, you know.
He has a collab with the A's?
Bro, he has a fucking jersey with the A's. Like, it's official. It's in the gift store and shit, yo. Like, bro, for real, like, G-Eazy, man, like.
Sheesh.
In the Bay, bro, people
I'm
really,
tapped out right now.
people really be fucking, like, hating, bro. Like, I'm sure you hear, like, people like, G-Eazy, corny, this and that. But, like, bro, he's really, like, doing shit now that he has the platform and putting people from the Bay on to the national audience. Like, bro,
and to be honest, it's the same thing that 40 did back then when Tell Me When to Go was out. You know what I mean? Like, and shout out to 40 for always tapping in with like the younger talent, because he's always like, yo, well, if I can give you the opportunity to like, you know, get a little bit bigger, then I'm gonna help you out with that.
Shout out to Sick with it. Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever had any like conversations with like 40 or anything like that? I know that's like me throwing like a fucking dart on the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Right, man. I have not had the privilege of meeting E40.
Okay. It's gonna happen though, bro.
It will happen eventually. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, with me, man, like it's funny. Like I got friends from the Bay and like the music scene and shit like that, but like most of my tapping in has been done down here. So
wow, why?
Yeah. I was kind of an introvert in high school. Like honestly, like when I was living in the Bay, I didn't really go out much. Like the only reason I know Wade and shit like that is like youth radio. Like I'm not sure if you're
you went to youth radio too? Oh shit, man, that's what's up, bro.
Yeah, so Wade was actually one of the dudes that started. He taught me how to make beats and shit. So shout out to him. Shout out to.
This is interesting as hell. This is cool.
Right. So I don't know if you know, but like youth radio is where like HBK started and shit with like, you know, Kuya Beats and fucking I Am Sue, Pilo. Like they all use Reason, which me and Wade use, which is from youth radio. So it's like it goes all the way back there. You know what I'm saying? So youth radio like was really the common thread. That was the only time I would like leave the crib like to go do shit. So really that was like it. So really like in the Bay, like obviously like I got people in Alameda and I got people in Oakland that support me and shit like that, but I would not say that I'm like tapped in. Like I don't have any songs with people from the Bay other than like my friends, you know what I mean? So that was kind of like the thing. So I think like eventually I'm looking at G-Eazy as like what he did where he went and got traction everywhere else and then took it back to the Bay. Like that's like the model for me because I definitely don't fit into the mold either of like what a Bay Area artist is supposed to be.
I get you, man, because piggybacking off that, for people who don't know, G-Eazy actually went to New Orleans first. And then, you know, he did his shit over there, and then he came back to the Bay and popped his shit off over there.
Sir.
So, you know, I think it's cool that, I mean, even seeing somebody as G-Eazy that you're following, like, their career path, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to L.A., kind of, like, solidify my fan base over here, and then go back to the Bay.
Yeah.
So, like, who have you been tapping in with, like, over here in L.A. then?
Man, so basically, like, everything that's kind of been going on has kind of circulated either through somebody I met with Golden or, like, through him. So, like, with everything that's been going on, like, we just been getting in with hella different people, like, fucking, you know, we got shit with Guap Dad's producer. Shout out my boy James Delgado. You know what I'm saying? We got fucking, I got some shit with like Lil Yachty that hopefully, no. I don't want to say that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hoping putting that out into the universe, like, that it comes out. But you know what I'm saying? That shit would be cool. Shout out to the homegirl Tommy Genesis. She's pretty fire.
That's a dope name, by the way.
She's dope. You should definitely check her out. Got some shit. Supposed to get in with this girl Deb Never, who you should definitely check out.
Yeah, Deb Never's tight.
She's fire as fuck. Supposed to be getting in with her soon, but mainly she's been linking up with hella different producers and shit. You know what I'm saying? Stacking up credits and shit. Like this one emo artist. I don't know if you heard of Teddy before. Got some shit with Teddy. Man, I don't know. I got a lot of different shit. It's hard to keep track of everything.
I like the way that you're thinking about it though, because I think what producers tend to so there's like two types of producers I see, right? We got the tight beat producers, right, and then we got the producers who will just like stick to their shit and like just stack up their fucking credits,
right?
I think it's always beneficial for a producer to stack up their credits because it adds to your resume, and it makes the next person look at you and be like, oh, well, you made this beat. Right. I need you to make me a Ben10K beat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, I've never posted a beat on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to the internet, bro, I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to real life, I'm a producer and an artist. But like in real life in LA, like most of the connections that I made in the music industry were like as a producer. So it's definitely gonna be like on some like Kanye type shit where like all those people that I met in sessions where I was producing. I'm gonna have to be like, yo, I rap too. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be that moment where I'm like Kanye rapping in front of fucking Jay-Z and shit, like
with the pianos,
like,
and shit.
Right? I'm just like, you know, mayonnaise colored Benz. I push miracle whips, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's gonna be like me when I start popping out, like, you know what I'm saying?
Would you consider yourself kind of like a sponge? Because you're in with so many different people in the studio,
Definitely.
So you kind of have to, you know what I mean? Like, you're constantly grabbing different things.
Right.
Like, oh.
Yeah. Before I got to LA, like, I didn't really know how to make a song. Like, I was just, primarily, I was like a rapper. Like, I would really just try to rap as hard as I could. But after moving out here and being in bigger sessions and, like, watching bigger producers, like, you know, I had the chance to get in with Hit Boy and shit like that, who was, one of my, like, idols, you know what I'm saying? Like, I fucking love Hit, and like just being in a session with him and seeing how he kind of fucking, you know, went in and shit like that, and just, you know, people that have been doing this for a long time and shit like that, getting the chance to like really look at how a song is really made has been like huge for me. You know what I'm saying? Has just been like, damn. So now that I'm going back and kind of getting back into making my own music after taking like a real long break to just produce, I really had like a great opportunity to fucking just learn how to make a song. Like, my shit is on some way different, like, actual songs instead of just like verses and then like trying to do a hook, but really like with like real beat changes and, you know, this and that. So
is like the beat changes and like not, I guess, not going by the traditional verse hook, verse hook, verse hook.
Right.
Is that something that you learned while being in the studio with Hit Boy?
I wouldn't say hit. Nah, his very like rap oriented with like the way that he produces and shit like that. I would say more so like dudes that you would never heard of, but big ass credits like my man Oren Yo. He did like a lot of Miley Cyrus shit like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like he's just an unsuspecting looking white dude, but really my man's like fucking like, bro, he's a genius, bro. Like he really like just being in with him and like watching the way that he fucking really puts together a song like from scratch. That shit was really inspiring for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to keep name dropping and shit, but there's certain producers out there like that got shit going and shit like that. Where I was in a session with them, I was like,
this ain't it.
This ain't it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of your favorite producers. They got a template made. They got loops and fucking they just throw that bitch in and they got a beat in 5 minutes. And like to me, that's not really good.
So then, what is your process like as Ben10K the producer?
Man, so I start with the melody. You know what I'm saying? I always start with chords. Like it's funny because growing up I was like a drummer and shit. So my strength is definitely the drums, but like being out here, being around so many talented musicians, I'll definitely take it upon myself to learn a little bit of music theory. So now a lot of my stuff is like more chord oriented, you know what I'm saying? Kind of just like I got a real thing for like R&B chords. So the newer sound that I've been experimenting with is like kind of soulful chords, and then after that, after I lay down like a top line, a melody, I'll start with the drums, you know what I'm saying? And then like sometimes if the melody is really good, like this is how I decide whether the beat's gonna be for me or for someone else. If I'm freestyling a hook while I'm making the melody, I'm like, that's for me. If it's not inspiring me like that, that's when I'll be like, all right, this might be good for this person and this person, So if it's that instant like inspiration of like, this is it, like that's when it's for me. So usually after I have the melody laid down, I'll do like a no, like a humming track, you know what I'm saying? And then from that, I'll build the bounce of the drums. And then once the drums get in there, that's when I'll start like thinking about lyrics and structure. But really it starts with the vibe, the melody, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting because every producer kind of like has their own
Right.
way to go about things. I would say, going back to it, your biggest placement would probably be the FIFA one.
Oh, no doubt.
Right, for Workin, right?
It's crazy. Like literally after that, it's been Love and Hip Hop, ESPN First Take, coming up. It's gonna be on NBC on a show.
Oh wow.
Netflix series. So like 5 different TV shows and movies. So.
Well, let's talk about it, man. As long as you ain't NDA'd up, can we talk about it?
Ain't no fucking
non-disclosure. Oh, let's talk about it. Okay, so then,
if y'all don't want me talking about it, send me an NDA. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hey,
right.
shit, let's go then. So then, how did the beat for Workin come about?
Oh, this is a crazy story. So we were at Golden's publishing company studio, APG, and it was like a session with him and a couple other producers and myself, and I just showed up and we were just chilling, catching the vibe, because like above everything, like Golden is like one of my closest friends, so I'll just be there chilling sometimes. And then the other producers left, and then I was on Instagram Live the night before. I had been making some like Latin type beats, and like people on my live were like, yo, this be fire for Cardi B. So like I don't know, I kind of offhandedly was just like, hey, like I made this beat last night, like I'm gonna play it for you. And I played it for him, and I was like, I think we should like, it would be dope if you like wrote some shit for Cardi B, kind of jokingly. And he was like, I mean, she's on the publishing company and shit, right? So like we could, you know what I'm saying? Like, so initially like it was written for Cardi B. So like we had a cut, and like that's why it doesn't sound like any of his other shit, because it was originally written for Cardi B. So we had that shit cut, and like literally 2 days later, he FaceTimes me. He's like, yo, like CEO of Atlantic just called me, like, bro, like I think we about to get a Cardi B placement. So in my mind, I'm like,
fuck it.
My first major placement is a Cardi B. Something, bro, what? Like,
let's run that shit up.
Right. And then like 2 months go by, and like we don't hear shit. And we're just like, all right, well. So his A&R was like, yo, like, it would be dope if you, like, flipped it and, like, changed the lyrics up a little bit and made it for your artist shit. And still, I'm thinking, like neither of us was necessarily like, yo, doesn't sound like a 24kgoldn song, right? So, you know, we go in, we're just in his dorm room, like, we flip it and shit like that. And then they're like, oh, like, we want to use this for HBO. And then I'm like, okay, bet. Like, that's fire, right? And then don't hear anything about that. And then one day I'm just chilling at the crib, like, playing fucking Apex or whatever, and I get an email, and it's like EA Sports, like, FIFA 20, like, we want to, like, will you accept this request, like, for the song to be in FIFA 20? And, like, that's my favorite video game. So I fucking...
You lost your mind, bro.
I jumped out of the fucking couch. I was like, bruh, fuck it. Like, we eating. Like,
fucking on right
I
now.
fucking called my manager. I'm like, bruh, like, we did it. You know, like, bruh, you feel me? Literally just, like, tweaking. And then, like, there was, like, a whole thing where it was like, oh, yeah, like, we don't know if it's going to be done, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, when it finally came out, it was like, whew. And then literally, like, a few weeks after, I get an email from, like, Netflix, and they're like, oh, like, feel me? And the bag was way bigger than the FIFA shit. And then after that, it was, like, Love and Hip Hop. And then after that, it was ESPN. And then now it's going to be fucking NBC. So really, it's just like, man.
You know, I'm genuinely proud of you, man.
Right, I appreciate
really
that,
am,
man.
because, like, you know, I have a soft spot for people in the Bay, and it's, you know, especially
man.
since you're so close to my cousin, and I'm just like, bro, like, it's amazing to see. I mean, one feat kind of just like have a domino effect on everything else, bro.
Nah, I mean, thank you to my brother Golden. You know what I'm saying? He's really fucking putting on for everybody. Like, genuinely, like, you know, I wouldn't be in that position, you know, if it wasn't for his hard work. And, like, you know, I met him when he was like 15 and shit. So, he kind of just has progressed really rapidly, and, like, it's funny because, like, he could very easily be like, oh, you know, I just want you to produce for me. But to this day, he's still, like, trying to push me to do my artist shit. So
that's good.
Honestly, like, you know, off all the bread that we've stacked up off of this one record, like, you know, I got all these sessions coming up and stuff like that. But really, my focus is starting to shift back to, like, being an artist and shit. Because the number one thing for me was, like, not having enough bread as an independent artist is, like, really trash. Like, you got to kind of pick and choose, like, oh, do I want to pay for cover art or do I want to pay for promotion? And, like, now that this song has generated so much revenue for me, I'm like, damn, I could do all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just shot a video with, like, a budget that I would have tripped off of for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm like, all right, it's good.
Like upward of what?
Like, you know, 1,500, like, which is, like,
yeah, I
mean,
hey,
like,
man, that's
total, like, you know what I'm saying? Everything, which is, you know, like, for me,
that's crazy.
6 months ago, like, bro, what the fuck? Like, man,
that's rent money, bro.
I spent $300 on the video, bro, max, and I'll try to fucking haggle to get it down. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm like, all right, we got to get this done right. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, stacking that, and then kind of just, like, looking at, like, what's going on with TikTok and everything, and kind of, like, trying to start to pivot. And, like, next month is when I'm gonna start releasing music again. So really, like, I'm about to just start popping out as an artist, and, like, it's kind of helped me regain my confidence. And, like, the music that I've been working on is, like, definitely I feel special about, and I feel like it's definitely, like, a different sound than people are used to, like, hearing from me. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the future. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, now very much so focusing on your artistry. How do you break off from, like, the producer realm? Like, do you produce, like, your own beats?
Oh yeah, I don't think I've done a song, with the exception of, like, my boy Seth will send me beats from time to time, which is really fun to go on other people's beats because you really don't have to think about shit. You could just do it. With the exception of him, I don't think I've done a song other than, like, when I'm, like, writing for other people on someone else's beat in, like, years. Like, I literally produce every single song that I have out and every single song that I'm going to put out. So, like, maybe down the line, I like collaborating with other producers, but, like, I'll never put out a song that I don't touch the production on. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless it's like fucking like shit, maybe like a Pharrell beat. Like that's like the only time where I'll be like, all right, this is
Yeah,
cool.
I'll
Like,
hop on a Pharrell
I'm
beat.
not gonna touch this. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I kind of like really like customizing the vision and having it be exactly what I want it to be.
I feel you. I want to take it back just a little bit. So the songs that you're gonna have on like Netflix and ESPN, are all those songs out now?
That's
or
all.
they're
That's
to-
all working. Literally just working.
So Workin's on all those platforms.
All those platforms.
That's crazy.
Right. Just like one song can really like do a lot, and just like through that, like a lot of doors have opened and a lot of like really cool shit is like in the works moving forward just on the producer side. So feels really good to like not have to like string my manager along and be like, yo, like, bro, we're gonna eat eventually, like, you know, like
It's like we eat now, bro.
right. So, you know, it's like it's you know, it's actual money coming in and shit. So that's like really cool to like be able to be like, all right, like I'm not stressing about trying to get rent money together. Like I could really focus on making my own music and like kind of just not stress about that shit. So definitely that song is like a blessing in disguise. Like, you know what
One
I'm
of
saying?
many, bro. One
Right.
of many.
Like, yeah, for sure. Like definitely looking forward. But honestly, like as a producer, I'm like a chameleon. I wouldn't say that I have like a specific sound. You know what I'm saying? Like I've worked on like reggaeton records, like working on like Latin shit right now with a few different people, and then at the same time doing like, you know, some bass shit, right? Like fucking golden shit, obviously, which is just kind of.
Are you Golden's main producer?
I wouldn't say so. No. Simply like if I was just a producer, I think I would be, but I think since because he like respects my artistry so much, like he like really has pushed me to like I've kind of like been like, yo, like do you want me to do like most of your stuff? And he's like, bro, like that would kind of take away from like your artistry. You know what I'm saying? Because like when we met, like I was like I had more SoundCloud plays than him and shit. Like, you know, like it wasn't on some shit where it was like, hey, bro, like I want to produce it for you some shit. Like we have hella like I would say we almost have more songs together where I have vocals on them than I do that's just my
That's
beats.
crazy.
Yeah, so like really with him, like he wants me to be an artist, you know what I'm saying? And like that to me means way more because he could very easily just be like, yo, like
I just need you
focus
to
on
produce,
producing, right? You know what I'm saying? So
Did you guys meet online?
I think I did. I want to say I DM'd him like I was just trying to sell beats or some shit like that, like to like local artists and shit like that. And I seen that we had some mutual friends and like, I don't know, like I listened to the music he had out and it was cool. You know what I mean? And like, but like at that time, like I was like not really trying to do songs with other people. But when I met him, was when I just realized that like his music at that point was definitely nothing like super special. But I would say that, like, when I met him, I just knew, like, you know how certain people just have that, like, star quality?
Yeah.
Like, he just had that effervescent, like, star quality. It was just, like...
He had the it factor.
Right. Some shit that I can't even explain, but he just had it. And I was like, yo, like, I know, you feel me? I knew this was going to happen, like, 3 years ago when the music wasn't even close to where it's at now.
So then, at that time... Was he 24kgoldn and were you Ben10K or like? Because it seemed like you guys like you know what I mean. Like the branding is just kind of very similar to the point where I was like, maybe these guys schemed it.
Honestly, that was kind of unintentional, but I think that he was one of the people that kind of pushed me to like change my name to Ben10K. But because before I used to go by my middle name, which is McGregor, but that sounds like a Scottish indie band. It doesn't sound like a producer and artist. So, like, before, I'd be like, yo, what's up? My name's McGregor. And they'd be like, oh, like Conor McGregor? And I was like, fuck. But I still haven't escaped that shit because now that I'm Ben10K, everybody's like, oh, Ben10? So,
right. Dude, I was going to ask you about that.
Right. No, it's got nothing to do with that, bro. Like, yeah, I'll just break it down. Ben10K, kind of 10K stands for 10,000 hours. So, you know.
I already get it, bro.
You feel me?
Put in your fucking 10,000 hours of work to master your shit.
Right. So that was kind of the roots of that. And, like, it was definitely unintentional, but it works great for when me and Golden collab because it's, like, 240. That's our thing, like, 24 times 10, 240.
Oh, wow.
240K.
That's low, bro.
We got a song called 240 that's out and shit. So that's kind of like our thing. It's like the tag team.
Yeah, man, because, I was looking at y'all, because I know what people like to do nowadays. They kind of like to, I guess, build their collective together, like
Right.
the YBN crew, YBN Corday, so on and so forth. Even like SOBRB, they're just all under like one thing. So when I'm looking at y'all, I'm just like, okay, 24kgoldn, Ben10K. I'm just like, all right, who's next? Is there like a 5K? Is there like a 20K? Like, you know what I mean? 100K?
I don't know, bro. Like the circle's pretty small. We got some people like back in the Bay, like people that I still collaborate with to this day. My boy Seiji Oda, who's super fire. The homie like Lil Ricefield, my boy YT Apex. Like you know about Lil Ricefield?
Lil Ricefield got the record of the year.
Bro, you know about Lil Ricefield, bro?
What the fuck you mean, Trapanese?
Bro, that's my little bro.
Bruh, I've been trying to get that motherfucker on here, bruh. He's just fire.
Yeah, so you feel me? He's still in high school and shit, so yeah, it's tough. Like even just like working on shit for him, it's kind of like he don't got a lot of music. Cause like,
did you produce the Trapanese beat?
I didn't. That's my bro Seiji. But you feel me? Like we definitely got some shit coming with Ricefield.
Okay.
Like that's another one of them artists that like I just kind of knew. It was funny that we got this show called Flexicon back in the Bay.
Okay.
It was like we did 3 of them, and like the first one, it was no headliners, just all friends, like me, my boy Seiji, my boy Laugh, the homie Sala, like, and like we brought out 500 people, like crazy, like that's Complex nuts. Oakland, like totally crazy, right? And we were like, oh, like we couldn't do this again. Like this was totally just a fluke. Like it was a nice summer day. People wanted to come party. Flexicon 2, fucking 400 people. You feel me? On like a fucking random ass like weeknight and winter break and shit. So we were really like, okay, we're really onto something special. And like I think it was Flexicon 2. I brought out Golden for my set, and Seiji brought out Ricefield. And like we saw the way that the crowd reacted to both of them, and we were like, bro, they gonna be way bigger than us. Like, you feel me? Like, cause like me and Seiji, man, like we've been at this shit for a minute. We produce all of our own shit, record all of our own shit, and like real like artists, you know what I'm saying? But Ricefield and Golden just have that like effervescent star quality that's just like it's effortless. You feel me? Like
so then I guess naturally my next question to you is, when you see somebody like 24kgoldn and also someone like Lil Ricefield, who you claim have like the it factor, like where do you see yourself then in terms of like your music and your artistry?
I don't really know how people view me, honestly. I just know how I view myself, which is more of like I kind of let the music speak for itself. You know what I mean? Like more so it's about like just making the best music possible, and less about like I'm definitely trying to brand more around like the message of the music, and like, you know, like I do like to get fly, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know anybody who got this.
You got the chamber. I've been staring at that shit all day, bro.
But shout out to my boy Chris, you feel me? This shit different. But like it's definitely less about like kind of, not to say that they both kind of have like a gimmick, but like definitely with Ricefield there's like a little bit of like a like something that people can just be, oh, that's a Trapanese guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to be like, oh, that's the whatever song. You know what I'm saying? It's like I want to cultivate like a very like fan base that's very dedicated just like to my, like, I know everybody hates Russ, but like what Russ has done is like kind of similar to what I want to do, because, you know, I do produce all my own stuff, record all my own stuff. And like with Russ, you definitely can't look and be like, oh, it's this one song. You know what I'm saying? Like it's,
my man sold out the Staples Center by himself.
Right. You know what I mean? Like they love to talk shit about Russ, and like personally I think he's a bit of a dickhead. Like in the media, but he has some real shit to say. So honestly, like I got a lot of respect for Russ, and I think that like that model of like just like one song at a time, like gradually building up your fan base.
Oh, you saw that video too?
And just
that
but
shit's
of course,
fire.
bro. You know what I mean? I gotta do my research. Like as another shorter Italian white dude, you know what I'm saying? Like I gotta look at him and like, you know, and be like, yeah, like he did what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to be corny and shit, and I think that I can kind of strengthen my brand by like producing and working with hotter artists and shit like that, which is definitely something that he hasn't done. But like I think like genuinely that model of like just building a fan base and like cultivating that shit without necessarily like trying to just shoot for the billboard right away is like kind of the model that I see myself following.
Well, Ben10K, you have a really good head on your shoulders, and I could tell that you actually
Appreciate
study
that.
the shit before you get
Of course,
into
bro.
it, man.
Nah, I've been taking my time with this shit. You know, I started making music when I was like 14, and you know, I'm 21 now, about to be 22 next month. So it's like it's definitely some shit. It's a long term like plan here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's definitely like some shit that I formulated in my head. Like, you know, I didn't want to start putting out music fully and putting myself behind it until I had some money to back it up independently. And you know what I'm saying? Now that money's coming from producing, so I'm seeing like this as an avenue to really like start building my fan base from the ground up and shit like that.
You're going to be just fine, man. So
Appreciate
Ben10K,
that.
we're going to get through like a couple quick round questions.
Okay, cool.
So obviously we're at the lunch table, right? So what's your favorite food?
Ooh, burritos.
Man, you're like the second person to say burritos this week.
Man,
shout out to burritos.
Hey, shout out to El Farolito in the Bay.
Yes.
And shout out to Guadalajara. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, in the Mission District.
You already know. I mean, you know, there's one on East 14th in Oakland.
Oh shit, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
They got like an El Farolitos and like a Guadalajara just like right across the street from each other in the Mission District, man.
I'm already knowing.
Oof, sheesh. Who would you say is like your favorite artist of all time?
Ooh, like I want to say most inspirational to me, definitely like Mac Miller, but like music wise, like Frank Ocean.
Okay.
So Frank Ocean music, but Mac Miller just as like an artist and as a person, because he was like one of the only white rappers ever to not be corny. So shout out to him.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Shout out to RP to Mac Miller. You know,
who would you say is your dream collaboration alive?
Would have been Mac Miller, but Pharrell.
Oh yeah, you did mention that earlier.
Yeah.
And when can we expect new music from you, good sir?
Next month, middle of December, right around my birthday. That's when I'm dropping. We just shot a video for this song BTYF, so really about to pop out. You know what I'm saying? That's like kind of when we're getting back into the swing of releasing music and shit. So
there you go, man. Going into 2020 hella strong.
Right. Yeah. Got a like line up of like singles that, you know, that one and then another one, maybe some special guests. You know what I'm saying?
Sheesh,
whatever, right?
You know. We can't, we need more of that, bro.
Right.
Because the 4 or 5 songs you got right now on Spotify, I'm just like, ooh, I want more of that shit.
Right. Nah, it's I'm not gonna lie to you. I would say that the songs are definitely more consistent with like the sound on Need to Know. I don't know if you heard that one, but that's kind of like the sound that I'm starting with. The more like melodic, kind of fun, like pop rap, you know. But, like, with a little bit of, like, you know, the hard drums and shit like that. But, you know, definitely, like, love songs and shit like that. So, some feel-good shit, you know. And then, like, eventually more down the line, I'll show my rapping skills and shit more, you know.
Can't wait for it, man. Well, Ben10K, where can everybody find you, bro?
You can find me on the gram at Find10K, Find10K. Same thing with Twitter. And then SoundCloud, Ben10K, Spotify, Apple Music, you know, all of that, Ben10K.
There you go. Well, this is the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz, Ben10K, and we are out, everybody.
Man.
Yee!